'Cause you're running out, give it a go and ask her out. Only takes one try, yeah. Even if she tells you no, then at least you know. So give it a go, give it a go. Oh, oh. Let her know, let her know, let her know, let her know. Oh, let her know, let her know, let her know. Yes, give it a go. Let her know, let her know, let her know, let her know. Oh, give it a go, give it a go. I wish that I had guts enough to flirt a little, but I'm too scared I'll fail. I wish that I could listen to the voice inside me, a voice that always says, give it a go, don't waste your time, 'cause you're running out. Give it a go and ask her out. Only takes one try, yeah. Even if she tells you no, then at least you know. So give it a go, give it a go. Oh, let her know, let her know, let her know, yeah, yeah, yeah. We break up and you slam the door. I messed up on the bedroom floor. What the hell do we do this for? I push you out, but you come back. That attraction, we can't fight that. Oh, keep telling myself that I should let go, but I hold on. And oh, keep telling myself that I should move on, but I don't. 'Cause we got that mad love, we got that sad love, we got that fun love, we got that young love, yeah, that dumb love. 'Cause we got that mad love, we got that sad love, we got that fun love, we got that young love, yeah, that dumb love. We got that. We got that. We got Kiss me and the world disappears. Tell me the things that I wanna hear. I just wanna stay right here. You push me out, but I come back. That attraction, we can't fight that. Oh, keep telling myself that I should let go, but I hold on. And oh, keep telling myself that I should move on, but I don't. 'Cause we got that mad love, we got that sad love, we got that fun love, we got that young love, yeah, that dumb love. 'Cause we got that mad love, we got that sad love, we got that fun love, we got that young love, yeah, that dumb love. We got that love, we got that, 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 we got that young love, that young love. We got that young love, that young love. We got that young love, that young love. We got that young love, that young love.
Well, hello there, everybody. How is it going?
You
Welcome.
think you know
Let me
me?
just sort this music out.
Say I'm as cold.
Flying solo today because Caroline is on holiday and poor Jennifer is very, very poorly, come down with the flu or something. So we are going to hold the torch today. And oh my goodness, can I just first and foremost let everybody know that this is our 200th episode of the Rebellious Business Show. Every single Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., we have been going live since March 2020. And the only episodes we've missed are Christmas week and one episode where my internet failed. Boo. Other than that, how's that for flipping consistency? And what better way to celebrate than to have the amazing Sara Tye on the show today, talking about how to become high profile, because Sara has been here since pretty much the inception of the Rebellious Business Network. And it's been awesome, like, to have someone so incredible in the constant, consistent attendance of being a part of this community. She is by far a pillar of the Rebellious Business Network community and an absolutely incredible human being with such amazing wisdom to share with you guys today. So I'm super excited to have you here with me, holding the torch on our 200th, I can't even flip and say it again, 200th episode. How exciting is that?
Awesome. I can't believe, sorry, I keep mucking around with everything. I literally can't believe that how long it's been, to be honest, from the beginning.
It's mad, isn't it? It is flown, but it has been the most incredible journey. Just to give everyone some insight as to what are we doing for birthday month as well, because not only is this coming up to our this is our 200th episode of the Rebellious Business Show, but we are also about to celebrate our 4th birthday. And to do that effectively and to do that loudly and to have a lot of fun with it and also bring a shit ton of value, we know there are a lot of people in our audience that also want to have a thriving digital community. And we have got some really fun events that we're going to be running. We've got some really fun things happening this month. And we decided to just go with the theme of community for this month because, well, it is why we're here. It is the most powerful way to market your business. We know a lot of you absolutely freaking love people and are in this because that's, in this business because you want to help people, you want to support people, you really want to make a difference in the world. And one of the best ways to do that is by having your own tribe, by being the leader of your own community. And it's one of the things that we teach. It's the signature thing that we teach. It's how to build your own tribe, how to run your own tribe. And it's the thing that puts a lot of our clients on the map when they do it, and they do it effectively and they follow the steps and they take the formula. So we've got some training coming up over the next couple of weeks on supporting you with getting started with your own community. If that's something that you're interested in, keep your ears to the ground for those sessions coming up. But for today, we're going to kind of kick off this community month with talking about how to become high profile, because if there's one thing that having your own community will do, it's build a load of authority. It is elevate a load of social proof, elevate authority, create a load of social proof. And it's going to enable you to really step into becoming a leader, being well known for what it is that you do, because you've got a lot of people that are involved in your business, in your brand. And it is, it's a really powerful thing. But today's session, we're going to kick off this month by talking about becoming high profile because, well, surely that is what you want, right? So drop it in the chat. Drop a yes in the chat if becoming high profile is something you want, in the way of being a best-selling author, in the way of being a world-renowned speaker, in the way of being a community leader. It sounds like, it always reminds me of like a community centre when I say not the local community centre. I mean a community fit to boot with prospect clients, the kind of people that you're going to want to throw cocktail parties for because you love hanging out with them so much. But yeah, Sara, what is high profile? Can you give us a definition?
I would say high profile is sort of / thought leader in your specialism. And then obviously the higher profile you get, you can become mainstream. So an example of that is I worked with Linda Barker for a long time. She's an interior designer by expertise, but she stretched her brand. She did the diving competition on TV because she's a fitness fanatic, and she stretched to nutrition, well-being, and also exterior. So she went into the garden. So she became more of a holistic well-being expert celebrity rather than just focused on interiors. So the higher profile you get, the broader you can stretch it. And that's generally true because people end up stretching their expertise as they grow anyway.
So does high profile mean having a big audience?
Not necessarily to start with. It's really important if you're an expert in interior design that you are a thought leader in interior design. So, for example, we have many people that work in that arena. One of them is a decluttering expert, and she's been working. I've known her for about 12 years, and we're doing work at the moment together. And she generally gets mentioned in a feature alongside really heavy brands because of her expertise, but her resources aren't as huge. I'll just give you an example as someone like Hilary Blinds, you know, who would have a huge budget for PR. So she manages to command great power within her outreach because of her expertise and the length of time she's been doing it.
I would say that even fame, you know, even the word household name, you know, these kind of concepts are becoming very niche, especially as everything becomes more fragmented. I mean, it used to be the media, used to be the TV and newspapers and magazines and the radio, you know, but now with social media, with, you know, a lot of people actually watching YouTube instead of TV, with TV being so digital these days, like fame has become something that's quite niche. And then you have the household name where someone's managed to get onto Netflix or become famous within a lot of people's households. But in terms of like fame or being high profile, that's quite niche now anyway, isn't it? You know, like as your example just there,
it is
she's
especially
got a high profile within that specific niche, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it also depends on your audience. Because if you're a thought leader with a certain age group, it is really important to say have the Telegraph brand as something that you would have as you're regularly featured in, potentially with a certain age group. But that would not interest a 20-year-old at all. What would interest them is how they manage to, you know, get on TikTok, go viral, and maybe collaborate with someone else on TikTok, if you see what I mean. So there's different credibility brands that you collaborate with if you call the media as a whole a collaboration to endorse, because it's a third party endorsement, your expertise.
Yeah.
And you cannot be high profile without that, I do not believe.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Well, we got some people in the chat saying we got a combination of things. Some people have said yes, they really want to be high profile, and others have said yes, but they're scared. I know that you have been in PR for quite some years now. You are an absolute expert when it comes to getting people seen, getting people noticed through public relations, and getting people on the TV, getting people into magazines, newspapers, publications, digital publications, and the rest of it. I want to know where it started for you. Like, what was that pivotal moment in your career where you stepped into becoming a PR expert? Like, what caused that?
Okay, so when I was 15, I used to pore over Vogue magazine. I wasn't really like my peers at all, ever. And I never really belonged to any group. So my music, I used to make my own clothes, Vogue magazine. And then when I was old enough to drive, I used to drive to the back of Harrods because I knew I could safely park in a car park and it wasn't that far into London. When I was 17, park behind Harrods and then go in Harvey Nichols, Harrods, and some other niche stores to look at the stuff that I was reading in Vogue. Okay. And on the front cover, India Hicks was on there, and she lives in Barbados. At that time, I didn't know she was attached to the Royals, and she was famous for being just India Hicks, and the fact she lived in Barbados and is fantastically beautiful and a model. And Tamara Beckwith and Tara Palmer Tompkinson were also famous. And I thought to myself, do you know what? Being famous and being in PR, didn't really know what PR was at the time, is the most important thing for me in my future. And then along that journey, I decided the easiest way to become high profile and network with the people I needed to was to go into PR. So I strategically went into PR to build my journey in to be high profile myself.
So what did that look like? What did that journey look like? When did you, is there a moment where you were like, oh shit, I'm actually becoming high profile, this is actually working? Like what was that?
So when I moved, basically I went to work for, I was in the military, working for the military, and I moved to Thames Water Utilities post privatisation, literally the week after it privatised. And with the £2 billion investment programme, which was part of the work we had to do to raise the profile of Thames Water and improve the perception of everything from leakage to sewage flooding, we had to target every single high profile minister, Secretary of State, the Prime Minister, and celebrities to raise the profile of what we were doing. So every single week I would meet a really high profile, like I would meet John Major, Tony Blair, the Mayor of Westminster, all the mayors of London, and celebrities like, Anton Rogers, Barbara Windsor. And this was a while ago, obviously. And so I just naturally sociable anyway. And some of them became my friends for a very long period of time. And I started to be asked to go in magazines because of my age and the work I was doing and the fact I was slightly different to everybody else.
So you studied PR and then you went to work for Thames Water, and also you mentioned the military. Like what were you doing?
I studied management for 6 years because I dropped out of school because I was too fast. It's very difficult. I don't know if I had something like ADHD or something, but I was working too fast for everybody else and my peers, and that caused problems. So I was bullied. I looked very different. So I managed to, the day I finished college, I managed to get a job with the military, helping to raise the profile of the military college. And that was academia and the MOD. And then after a couple of years, I was doing my diploma. I got them to pay for it. I thought I need to get into a bigger institution. I can't stay in the military. It's too closed. So Thames Water was privatising. I thought the best company to go with was Thames Water. And then after that in my career, I only ever worked with really big global brands. So if I got headhunted for a job, it had to be a super brand or had to be something of greatness globally.
Interesting. So you kind of transitioned into Redhead PR by going and almost doing subcontraction work with big brands. Is that?
So I worked in-house for Anita Roddick, the late Dame Anita Roddick. I worked directly for her at the Body Shop because she was the biggest global communicator. And I knew that I had to work with her if I wanted to be a global communicator, which made me a top 500 PR globally. And then after the Body Shop, I then was head of communications at Yellow Pages, and Yellow Pages then was a global brand. And after Yellow Pages, I then thought I need to go into agency and work for global brands in agency. So I went to 2 agencies. I ran Nokia globally for all the agencies across the world. And I mean, this is a lot of work because obviously you've got to be up to speed on, mobile internet, animal testing. You've got to be doing this full-time, reading, understanding it all. And as I grew, I eventually did keynote speaking. I've done big boot camps with 1,000 people on best practice ethics. And then in the end, I headed towards I got recruited to go and start a PR agency for the biggest advertising agency in the world. And I wrote a business plan, bearing in mind I had never written one before. I wrote a business plan and it was called An Agency with No Name. And I presented it and they said to the recruitment agency, how did you find Sara? You need to get some better people to benchmark her against, because at the end of the day, she's so good. We just cannot believe you didn't find anybody else good enough to benchmark her against. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to swear. I said, give me my business plan back. I'm starting my own company. And that's when I started Redhead PR.
I love that. How did that feel?
Do you know what? It's amazing, because this is what I say to everybody that I work with. You stand on a line when you're working for other people and you get a paycheck. Yeah. And I was billing for this company, and I billed for some companies 1.5 million a year because obviously I was really good at retaining and getting new clients. And I thought, you know what, I can bill 1.5 million a year. Why am I billing 1.5 million a year for another agency? So they ripped up my contract due to an internal discussion, and they wanted me to work on their business to make sure it didn't go down, because what I've always said is never leave anywhere it badly. You always leave it that they love you and they lost you. And the next day I walked across London to Smithfields Market and I signed my first client. And then after that, got the client, signed another 4. My objective was to bill, funnily enough, £10,000 a month by the time I was sitting in my own office. And I did that within about 4 months. So I did 100,000 projection from when I started my own business.
You blow me away. You seriously, like, you just don't fail to just blow me away. Every time we speak, there's something else just incredibly impressive about you that I find out. I mean, that is a really big jump. And I think everybody here will resonate with how scary that big jump is. But to take that leap and be hitting those 10K months, and as you say, funnily enough, I'm sure, you know, that was a comment or a remark about the whole 10K month thing that so loud in the industry, but you know, it's a sense of security, isn't it? That it's proof of concept. It's like, I can do this. I don't need anyone else. But were you scared? Was there a moment?
No, because I'd worked in best practice businesses, I understood quality management. So I knew how to start from a concept, a vision, and take that right through to customer satisfaction. It's called the European Foundation of Quality Management Model, EFQM, if anybody wants to look at that. And I helped run that Yellow Pages, and we won it. And when you win it, you become a European best practice business of size. So I ran my own agency exactly the same way, and we beat everyone. You know, I pitched in those days, Skype, Egg. We had everybody in the office, and we worked for some of the biggest brands globally, and we did a better job than most of the agencies. Because everybody said to me, why do you want to go and start in London when there's 3,000 PR agencies already there? And I said, because we're going to be better than all of them. And we were. We very rarely lost a pitch. But, you know, there's a sacrifice to that. I will tell everyone there is a huge sacrifice. So, you've got to know exactly what you're doing, implement it, and then just do it and keep doing it and keep doing it until you are unbelievably, you never make a mistake hardly. And because of that model, you have a complaint sheet, and the complaint sheet is when someone complains about something, and the complaints got so small, they were like, they didn't send me the press release on time. And I'd be like, hold on a minute, there's 3 complaints in this sheet this month. We didn't do this properly. That's it. Why did we do that? And then we would change the process so we never did it again.
Yeah, you say like about never making mistakes. I guess you have to make mistakes, right? But have you ever made a really big mistake that
a very big mistake. Very big mistake. We've made a number of huge mistakes, and the thing you do is that you spend every single waking minute of the day, especially the business I'm in, and you rectify that mistake as quickly as you possibly can. So, for example, this wasn't my fault. Yellow Pages. We had redone the central line, the yellow line, the circle line, sorry, tube, and we had the classifications of the Yellow Pages all the way through the upholstery. It was obviously branded outside and everything. It was a huge story. Got the front page of the Evening Standard, and they had truncated the word therapist and cut it off, and it said rapist throughout the whole of the tube. So I walked into the tube and I sat down. You're not going to believe this. I sat down and I looked down like that. I was sitting down, and it said rapist, and I was like, oh my God. And I stood up, and it was all the way through the tube. So we obviously got private eye, and everybody obviously they love that. So we had to get that changed in the space of 24 hours.
Well, it was actually published, and it was.
Oh yeah, because all the media were there. All the media were there on the tube platform.
Why didn't
In
someone
the
see it?
afternoon, we had the front page of the Evening Standard. We actually went to Harvey Nichols to drink champagne because we got the front page of the Evening Standard.
So would you say that all PR is good PR?
I think I told people hate mail. I told them on this on another occasion. I've had some really bad moments. But you're going to, because we're all human beings, and at the end of the day, it's like reading the Daily Mail, write something, and then about 700,000 people complain about it. You're always going to be on potentially one line or another if you want to be high profile because you believe in what you're doing, your best practice. You might argue that the standards aren't good enough in what's going on, yada, yada. And so, yeah, it's how you rectify bad PR. I mean, we've had a global story go out. If I hadn't rectified it on the Sunday with three of us, I probably would have had an assassin take me out. No one ever knew that mistake. I literally had to ring every single media with my team in the whole of the world and tell them to take something down from their inbox and replace it with something else.
Wow. So thank God you saw it.
Oh, yeah. Because I've got an audit. There's an audit. Like I said, there's always a process to find a mistake.
I wonder if that's why people are a bit scared, to become high profile and to get out in front of a lot of people. I spoke to a lady once who's very high profile, celebrity talk show person. And she said to me, I wouldn't get onto TV if I was you, because these days you just get cancelled so fast. And I genuinely feel like I am the kind of person that would say something that probably got me hate mail very quickly. I think there's two sides to this. Number one, there's trusting yourself that you can be a reliable and professional source of, I don't know, content. And then there's the other side of it, which is that, like, what if people just don't like me anyway? Or what if there's this hate that comes through? And we had this whole session with Mark Chu a couple of weeks ago where we were talking, was it even last week? I think
I watched that.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. He gets a lot of what he calls shade thrown at him, and how he turns that into something for the positive. And he's actually getting noticed by a lot of famous DJs at the moment who are sharing his post talking about the negativity in the DJ space. But I think this is a really important point for us to think about, because in order to help someone become high profile, I think we've got to bust a few fears and a few myths in and around what this can bring, because it can be really scary. What do you find that people that you work with that are wanting to become high profile, what's the most common fear that they have in and around actually going for it? What holds them back the most?
Just probably that they're going to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But to be quite honest, with the media the way it is now, there's so much. I would say 90% is safe, is so safe. So, getting a piece in Forbes, getting a piece online on huge sites, which will help. I mean, you get it on something like the Daily Mail, your website will go to the top of the rankings immediately if they do a backlink. And a backlink is crucial to the work we do, because the backlinks are what help the whole thing go up in Google. So the coverage and the website and everything to do with you sends the whole thing up. And there's so many great places to get great coverage, and it's and some of it you can check, and a lot of it you can write yourself, because they need people like us. So they sort of almost need us more than we need them now, because they've got to get this stuff turning over so quickly.
Yeah, it's fast, right? Would you say there's more danger in not going for it than there is in going for it?
Yeah, I would. Well, obviously, I've been doing this all my career, and I've had people in the office with really bad backstories that have said to me, what happens if this comes out? And first off, it may never come out at all, ever. If it does come out by accident because you say something and they want to dig deeper, there's a way of handling that as well. So you never actually answer that question. And lastly, if it does come out, there's a way of managing it. And I've obviously had lots of clients, high profile clients that have already had things out there that I've then had to try and help get over. But I would say for the majority of us on this Zoom right now, there's a massive opportunity there, which is really safe. And it just helps in so many ways. It definitely helps with the clients, because if the clients see you're a thought leader, they generally are more inclined to say I want to work with that person.
Yeah, I obviously wholeheartedly agree with that. I think there's this element of social proof. It's like speaking on someone else's stage. You know, everybody in the room might not know who you are, but because you've been invited to speak on that stage, it just builds that immediate kind of sense of trust that, well, this person must be trusted by the person that's running this event, and therefore I kind of trust them too. So if you're going to be published in someone else's media, in someone else's magazine, with that, before even a word comes out of your mouth, or before even a word is read on the page, there's an element of trust that's created on your behalf, much stronger than just creating your own content and putting that out there, surely.
Totally. I mean, one of the interior experts I mentioned, who's a high profile expert in a certain subject of that, her website has gone up through the rankings unbelievably since the work that's been done with her. She also did a major collaboration with a brand, which is another thing that obviously other agencies want to work with you because you're high profile and you then have a following. You know, she got 50 Instagram followers from one piece of coverage, you know, just having and that was within a day. So, you know, there's so many pluses to it. And then there's ways of reusing it. You know, you know me, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel at all. I mean, we've used a piece of coverage. I think we've used one piece of coverage for like 25 years.
Yeah, well, repurposing is where it's at. There's no point reinventing the wheel. So Sarah, let's get into some steps. Let's get into some nuts and bolts. How does one become high profile? What do we need to think about first?
Brand congruency online. So when a journalist, let's say the opportunity comes, so I spoke to someone yesterday, and immediately within an hour of me speaking to them, a piece came through for a really high profile site. Yeah, that person has already got their Facebook is fine, their Instagram's fine, their LinkedIn's fine, their website is fine. They've got an address on their website, so it looks real. You know, there's these little things. And then secondly, their biography, always the biography, because it is the biography that persuades the journalist that you are awesome. And generally, everybody has a brilliant biography, especially like people that are on the rebellious community, because they have gone through different things and backstories that have helped them get to the point that they want to help others, whatever that means. So once you have that and a very, very good photograph, which they may not even use, but they just love the fact you've got one just in case they do, then you are set up to get high profile coverage in something like the Wall Street Journal.
So give me some bad examples of that. Like how like that sounds really simple, but I know from seeing a lot of people's social media that I start working with, etc., that there's some work to do there. So
yeah,
give me some points that would need to be changed in terms of that congruency. Like what's a bad example?
So the first thing is if they were using Instagram as part of that, let's say I'll just keep using the interior designer because it's quite easy. If their target market was an Instagram user and photography and design was a key part of what they were doing, and I looked at their Instagram and they only had 10 posts, they hadn't really bothered doing anything with it, maybe they'd never applied to anybody that had said anything yet, that they hadn't really used opportunities that they could have, I would say, right, okay, we need to just work a bit on the Instagram. Okay. That's not a lot of work, but there is a piece of work to do.
So a populated account and one that's maintained and used regularly. What about if you've got two different niches going on, or if you've got personal social media account and a business social media account? So I think like the classic one here is Facebook, isn't it? So you could search up Cordelia Kate, and there's two accounts. There's personal profile and there's business page, and they're both Cordelia Kate. What if the personal profile is a load of, you know, what I'm eating for dinner, my kids going to the park, and then the business page is loads of business content? Would you say that would be incongruent, or is that quite normal?
I don't think they would potentially look that deeply, depending on how high profile the pieces you're doing, because obviously at the end of the day, if they're writing to, let's say, the Telegraph, which is like millions of views globally every single day. I think it's 89 million views or something on the Telegraph. It's like up there as like the number 15 website or something. They want to know that when someone clicks on your link, they're actually saying that you are fantastic. And then when one of the readers click on the link, they go, yes, that person's so fantastic. Thank you, Telegraph. I will read you all the time because you always deliver to me.
Yeah. High user quality. So yeah, and that's just, okay. So it's at a glance. At a glance, you've got to look established. You've got to look current. You've got to look like you're maintaining your accounts, and you've got to look like you're a business, or like you are what you say you are, regardless of whether you're a business or not.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. I always say, if you are online, no matter whether it's personal or not, you are generally open. So I'm just as careful on my personal posts as I am on my other posts. Yeah, I don't go wild with personal posting and then think, oh, I need to take that down. Actually, that's, I literally don't post a lot, but I do post things that are congruent with the way I am.
Yeah. And so, well, I mean, I think another thing to speak into here is also the authenticity of it. Now, one thing I know a lot of people have historically got, I say historically, I mean, in the last, let's say 10 years, starting an online business, coming online and feeling like they need to wear a mask, feeling like they need to be someone else. So there's an element of professionalism we're talking about here, right? Not posting loads of personal stuff and then thinking, oh shit, I need to take that down. But also that authenticity piece is so important. I know that you've been going through a hell of a lot, but for those that haven't, seen our previous session that we did in the Rebellious Business Network, we are going to release that as a podcast episode. We have decided. But Sara's been going through a hell of a lot. And talk me through the difference between, keeping a face and being professional and keeping it maintained, and, business is open, and, everything that we post needs to be congruent to the brand message and all that kind of stuff, and actually keeping it real and being yourself, because I think that is such an important differentiation just in this foundational piece, that we are really showing up as ourselves, because then we really attract the kind of people into our circle, into our fan base, whatever you want to call it, that are the right kind of people.
So when I talked about the fact I was diagnosed as stage 4 cancer, and then went on to my chemo, I decided to treat it like a crisis management piece of work. So I literally released it deliberately on social media so everybody could see it at the same time. And I tried to answer, which I always do, this is a typical PR thing, every single question that someone might ask in the piece that I wrote. So I didn't get a whole 200 questions below saying, oh, what about this and what about that? And also, I didn't have to post again about it for a while, because obviously it was such a big thing to post about. And I was really careful with which photographs I've used of myself. And the feedback I have had over the last year, because I don't post a lot about it, because I don't want to be perceived as someone that's using their illness to curry favor, for want of a better description. So I do it to explain what's going on with me, and also educate people on cancer better than they currently understand, which is generally most people. The feedback I have had is, please keep posting, please write a book. You are never one for self-pity, even though you're so ill, because obviously the chemotherapy nearly killed me. We're really glad that you're still doing what you're doing. And I had the best 2 months ever, I think I told you, in my chemo for the first 8 weeks, because I was sitting in a chair for 6 to 8 hours. I managed to do tens of thousands of pounds worth of work. And people were like, what are you still working for? And I'm like, well, I can at the moment, and I'm going to. And yeah, I had 2 of the best months ever.
I mean, it's just incredible. If that's not down to being passionate about one's work, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's unfathomable. Like, I cannot imagine what you went through. We're going to circle back to this, Sarah, if we can. I mean, there's so much just in that, but the authenticity of you in that moment to share, I can imagine there would be a lot of fear around, what are people going to think about me? Am I going to lose clientele? Are people going to think that I'm not worth investing in now? Are people going to think I'm not up to the job? What's the opinion going to be on me in and around me announcing that I'm really sick? And then, yeah, like, did you have fear around that?
Oh, I'm going to tell you what I thought. I thought someone won't want to work with me because they'll be worried I die, and I'll owe them some money. So I would die in the middle of a piece of work and they would be owed, I'm talking like £500 or something. I'm not talking big amounts. Or, well, actually, there are some clients with which it would have been a big amount. And of course, I'd sorted that all out in my head. If anybody had asked me, I knew how I was going to deal with that, because I'm a best practice business and I'm not going to announce that I've got stage 4 cancer and that I'm on the worst chemotherapy aggressive regime lightly. I don't take these things lightly. And the other thing was, I didn't know how people were going to react, because telling them verbally face to face was really traumatic, because they would break down and be awful. I've had some of my friends have ghosted me and not spoken to me for a year because I don't know why, but I didn't speak to them in the end, because I don't want to have negative around me. And yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna have to tell you something, and then they would get traumatized, and then I'd get traumatized because they were traumatized when I was trying to deal with my own trauma.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, and you have built such a huge audience as well of, very high profile people, and also, all the people that you've worked with over the years, all the leads that you've gathered, all the, all the visibility that you've gained through PR. I can imagine that was very, very scary. And I know that you dealt with it in the most incredible way. Let's get back to some steps then, because we've got brand congruency. We've touched on authenticity. And I mean, I learned a lesson recently. I think it's very important to be authentic, but as you do become more high profile, there is some consideration to be had on what you say and how you say it, and to just be careful and double check that things are going to come across the right way. The next thing then is how do you go about then getting into publications? You've got this idea of wanting to become high profile. You feel that PR is going to be a good thing for you to add to the mix in terms of marketing, getting yourself out there, getting visible, etc. What do you do next?
So the easiest thing to do, if there are a set of titles that are really important to your audience, let's just pick one. Say men's health is really, really important to your audience, then you need to build a relationship with men's health. And you do that by obviously reading it, which a lot of people don't do. I can talk about the Telegraph and the Daily Mail and their positioning and everything, because I'm a current affairs junkie. I'm a media junkie. So understand the magazines that you're working with, and then have a relationship with them. So if they have events, or if there's a journalist, they've listed their email addresses, so don't send them something that is completely irrelevant. You send them something that's really relevant, and they may consider you for a double page feature. We've just had a double page feature for an interior designer in a massive magazine, like a complete profile on her. It's African and she lives in South Africa. Of course they're going to do a double page spread on her.
Is this who I think it is?
I don't know if she's here.
Is she one of ours?
Nicoline.
Yeah, awesome.
Hi, Nicoline, if you're here. Yeah, Nicoline has had amazing PR. Amazing. She is now a columnist, like regularly for idealhome.co.uk.
Oh my gosh, I haven't spoken to her in ages. I'm going to reach out and tell her congratulations. That is epic.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I'm hearing is figure out what publications, what magazines, what websites, what newspapers, whatever are going to be a really good fit for your industry, what you do, what you teach, what you help people with, what you coach on, etc. Something that's going to have immediate relevancy to you and your business, and kind of immerse yourself in those publications to understand them and build a relationship with them by following them, by what else?
Following them on Twitter, following
Okay.
journalists on Twitter. You can respond to, so 25% of Twitter is journalists. And I always recommend that people use Twitter for the one thing, which is just current affairs, because that's generally where people, especially globally and in the States, announce things. They announce them on it.
25% is journalists.
Yeah, it could be even more now. Yeah. So Rod Liddell, who I love and is one of in my community, I follow him because he's so funny, you know. So I know how Rod Liddell talks. I know I know that he would never write about anything that I submitted to him because he's a columnist, unless it was really controversial, because he's controversial. And he actually responded to my piece and said, when I announced I was stage 4, and said what a brilliant piece of writing. That to me was probably the best thing that I'd ever received in the whole of my life from a writer. So I have a reasonable relationship with Rod Liddell, but that's taken a while. I'm not saying that spend years on this to actually get a result. Just be sensible about it. And this goes for radio, TV, podcasts, social media sites, YouTube channels. You know, don't one of the biggest things I did is this is why I never do it. I sent a piece to The Guardian from Anita Roddick, and she came back and said, "Did you read the paper yesterday?" And I went, "No, I'm gonna have to tell her the truth." And she said, "Well, you wouldn't have sent this if you hadn't read it yesterday. Don't email me again until you know what you're doing." So I'm running around trying to find yesterday's Guardian. And of course, they'd already written about the whole subject the day before.
Okay, yeah, for sure. But then I guess, like, in terms of, like, I just want to say as well, for anybody that's in the Rebellious Entrepreneur Academy, Sara has done a full section on, you know, how to get started with PR, because it's a big subject. So you guys have got in the bonus section under press publicity, there is videos from Sara on how to get in the press, and how to, you know, do some of the really basic foundational things that you need to have in place. So definitely go and get started there as a way of understanding this. If you're like, wow, this is something I need to start thinking more about how to get in the media, because I know that it's going to be something that gets me high profile, then go and get started there 100%. If you're not in RIA, then Sara, you know, has got loads of resources. I'm sure if you send her a DM, you just heard how she replies to every single comment everywhere, always, at all times. So I'm sure if you put a comment somewhere, and she's just put a link in for a strategy session. I'll just drop it into the stream here. If you want to book a call with Sara, then you can go ahead and do that. But there are, of course, some foundational bits to get in place. Then we're talking about the brand congruency. Make sure that at a glance, it's really clear what it is that you do, who it is that you help, and that you're current, you are regular, you are reliable, and all that kind of thing. Next thing is look for publications that are relevant to your brand. Build relationships by being present, commenting, like
being present. But if you're a thought leader, you will anyway. Do you understand? So, you know, if you're like Stu, if you don't mind me mentioning yourself, in terms of what's currently going on in society, Stu's subject matters, I mean, like everyone's is really relevant, because we wouldn't be doing it otherwise. So Stuart's subject matter, about, you know, going through trauma and addiction and then getting on with your life afterwards and how you do that, that's really huge at the moment because of what's going on in society. So Stu's got the option probably for, you know, mainstream press, society journalists, current affairs journalists, feature journalists who are writing features that he might have read 2 weeks ago in the Times. I'm just, you know, throwing it out there. And men's health, for example.
Yeah. And for those listening on the podcast, Stu is here with us in the live audience. He is an amazing, amazing guy who's building a business on what Sara just explained, helping people to, you know, figure out what they want to do, what their sense of purpose is, and, you know, creating a pathway for them in their future moving forwards after recovering from being an addict or significant trauma. So yeah, exactly. So in which instance, there are some very obvious places that Stu can then go and get some great connections, and just through showing. So would you say this, through showing up, let's circle back to the beginning, because where we started talking about community and getting visibility and all of that kind of stuff. Like I think a lot of people at the start, they know they've got to create content for social media. They know they need to do that consistently. They know they need an audience. They know they need to start building these things out. So they're getting that visibility and gathering a sort of bigger existing network of not just ideal clients, but people that are interested in the content they're creating. Is that the kind of thing that with consistency will start to get you noticed?
Totally.
Yeah. I think, like, I mean, I've just been booked for a big speaking gig, right? And I'm so flipping grateful and so excited for it. And I know that it is the work that we've done over the 4 years that put me forward as a candidate for that, because I didn't apply for it. It was someone else, well, a couple of other people recommended me because that person was looking for speakers. And then, as you say, that at a glance, he's gone and checked out my social media accounts and then has said, DM me if you're interested in this opportunity. And I've DM'd him, and then we've had a conversation. I've explained what it is that I do. And he's like, yes, this sounds like what we need. And boom, we're booked in for it. That wouldn't have happened if we hadn't have done the work we've done on social media, that consistency, that, you know, constant updating our social media accounts with content. And you know what? The other thing is like, it doesn't take a shitload of work. It really doesn't. Like, I think the consistency is so much more powerful than anything else, in terms of you can get 1 hour of content a week and turn that into absolutely everything you need.
Yeah, totally. I'll just go back from that. The reason you've been picked, one of the reasons you've been picked as a speaker, and everybody needs, I'm going back to what I said about the Wall Street Journal, and click on the link and they love you. They want people to buy tickets for that event. And the speakers are what sell the event generally. And so having your own community means you can get people there, but also people want to come and see Cordelia. The second thing I would say, with an event that size, you need to put that, and I don't know how old your biography is now, but I did look at it the other day, actually. You need to put all that into your biography of everything that's happened. Yeah, because there's some key milestones in there. We're 4 years old now, it's changing. The biography is dynamic. And then do some more PR off the back of that event, because if you're going to events like that, you're suddenly moving up to here. Now, I have a friend, Alison, and I remember her coming in my office, said she wanted to be high profile, and she's just managed to get onto one of these fly on the wall series, and you know, won an award, and she's getting great speaking events now. She's a host. I remember her saying she wanted to move from what she was doing to that, and she's done it. But it's stealth, showing up all the time. I showed up the whole year. I was really, really ill, and you know, I just created a perception, the best I could, and sometimes smoke and mirrors job, and I just kept turning up. Some people don't even know I'm ill. You know,
well, you don't look ill, you don't sound ill, like you wouldn't know. And like, I know that you do protect your energy. I mean, guys, can we just show Sara some love and appreciation? She's come on this show to bring you guys some inspiration in between hospital visits today. Like, it's been mental, and she's like, no, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do it. Like, there are too many excuses out there in the world as to why we can't show up. Why do you do it? How do you keep going? How do you keep showing up, even though you're sometimes feeling awful? I mean, on the show a couple of weeks ago, you told us how, you know, there are times where you were hiding under your desk to just spray your mouth because your saliva glands dried.
Which I still do, but I don't have to spray it anymore.
So
not so bad.
What keeps you showing up?
I've always done it. I mean, I've only had in the whole of my life 1 week off work, as in no pay, PAYE. And it just happened to be the week Diana passed. And I spent the whole week on the sofa watching the media. And then I went and started my new job. And I literally, from the age of 17, when I walked out of college to today's day, I've never had a day off. It's part of my life. It's a lifestyle. I always wanted a lifestyle business. I wanted to be able to work in Marbella. I wanted to be able to work from a hotel because I happened to be doing something there. I wanted to speak at events and be high profile as well as make other people high profile. I wanted world fame, but then I thought to myself, maybe that's not as important as some other things that I was doing. And actually, maybe that isn't the answer. World fame isn't necessarily the answer to delivering what you want to deliver. So yeah, it's a lifestyle for me. I can have a call. I had a call in the Marbella La Canada shopping centre the other day while I was having a coffee and did a coaching session. And it was one of the best coaching sessions because it was in a lovely environment. And they were like, oh my gosh, where are you? I'm like, living the dream. They're like, I want to do that. And I'm like, you can do that. But you have to be high profile, whatever that means. And that's being high profile from the Rebellious network, within the network, using the content of the Rebellious network, looking at the PR and adding it all together, and it becomes a 360-degree circle.
You can be high profile in a small circle. And I think that's a really key point. I think one of the things that has really supported me to get to where I am is that I have shown up in communities, essentially. So the first community was the SFM community, very closed circuit, right? Very small circuit. I showed up in there and I became someone who was doing trainings. I became someone who was helping people. I just started running Zoom calls and showing people how to do stuff, how to, you know, they were watching this training. There was a gap in the training. A lot of people were getting confused, and I just started filling that gap and teaching people how to strategically take the training and put it into practice. And then I got made an ambassador for that company, and then I worked for that company, and I, you know, and was a consultant for them. I did the same with Expert Empires, if you like. I didn't do the same in the same way. I didn't show up and start doing training, but you know what I did is I got involved, became a pillar of that community. And so in those small areas, and you know, the first community was 3,000 people, the second one was a couple of hundred, right? It wasn't very big, the community of Expert Empires. But I think like that is a great way to get started with becoming high profile. It's like, be a pillar of a community, of a closed circuit, and then branch out. Because I think the thing with a high profile, the thing that sounds scary is it does sound a little bit like, you know, someone's already mentioned, you know, I'm as big as Tony Robbins in size, but just not in audience. It's not necessarily about becoming as famous as Tony Robbins, is it? It's about being a pillar of a community, about being well known in circles, and then that grows, right?
Yeah, you create your furrow and you keep on going along it. And you can't create a furrow, you know, you can't create a field of corn without all the things you've got to add in all the time. And it is a continual journey. And I've been on it for, it will be nearly 40 years next year. And yeah, I mean, and I'm like Cordelia, you know, I get fatigued. Sometimes I'm ill, you know, sometimes I miss something and I have a row with my mother because it was her birthday. You know, sometimes I don't turn up where I should do. Instead, I'm doing something else. And, you know, I make mistakes. But that's all part of it, because I couldn't advise other people if I hadn't been through the mill. I could not advise my clients if I hadn't been through everything I've been through, the adoption, not being able to give birth, you know, not being able to have children, having 2 divorces. The list is endless. And I made all that happen. And sometimes I say, you know, I'm my own worst enemy. I made all these things happen. And people say, how'd you live through that? I'm like, I don't know. I just keep on with my furrow. And I keep adding great stuff into it. You know, so I got back from Marbella yesterday.
You're amazing. It's exhausting
Thank you.
coming back from Spain or anywhere. You're just normally like, And here you are. I've had hospital appointments. You're here on the show. You are the most inspiring woman I have ever met. I have to say,
that's so kind.
there is no one I have met that's more
Thank
inspiring than
you. Cordelia.
You're incredible. You really are. Okay, so
does anybody have any questions?
Let's close off on this before we open up for Q&A. And guys, think about if you've got any questions, drop them in. I want to be mindful of your time. I know that you need to rest, Sara. But I would love to hear your advice for someone that is passionate about helping others, is passionate about their subject matter and what it is that they do, and wants to become high profile, but is kind of terrified and currently holding themselves back from doing things like getting on live video consistently, or, you know, doing the things that they know they need to do in order to really start building that audience. What would you say to them?
I would say just do it slowly and evolve it, you know, because even if, you know, I'll just go back to interior design. It didn't start off with Nicolene being a columnist for Ideal Home. You know, it started off, we helped her deliver a piece to Ideal Home. And then because she consistently turned up and was first, because one of the things is about speed to answer, and I do this with my whole business, with my clients, everything, is that because she's recognized now and she is always available, she can guarantee the journalist that the journalist will get a response. So a lot of people just don't turn up. So you evolve it slowly, you always turn up, you always deliver, and deliver in the scope that you can, and look at the training and book a call if you want to talk about anything.
Well, there we go. You've heard it from Sara. Start small, show up, and build on it. It doesn't need to be massive. It doesn't need to be completely terrifying. And actually, what I would recommend is that you start in a community that is safe, that feels safe, right? This is one of the reasons why we have the Rebellious Business Network. It's designed to be a place that can become your platform, that becomes your launch pad. And if you want to get yourself out there, one of the best things I can recommend you get started with is just the video journey. Go into the Rebellious Business Network Facebook group and read the post pinned to the top that says 30-day video challenge, and get stuck in on that. And I promise you, everybody else seeing your videos in that video challenge, they're going to be going, oh my goodness, this person's so brave. It's so awesome that they're doing these videos. And you will start to build relationships with the people in that community. And one example is Anna May. She came in, she did the video challenge, and she did it on her own. She did the whole 30 days. And I keep hearing her name crop up from people in our community. It was only yesterday morning that someone was talking about her on a one-to-one call with me about how, you know, they're arranging a meetup, etc. And I've heard her name crop up so much. And just from doing that 30-day video journey, she became a part of the community. She started to become well known within that community. And if you show up and you do that, then it will go far as your kind of first stepping stone, with number one being a pillar of that community, number two getting known, and number three starting to build connections with people that are in the same tribe as you. Because what that does is it creates a strong connection, because you've both got something in common. You're both a part of the same thing, and then you take that and you take it outside of the network and start doing it elsewhere. But yeah, that's one thing that I would recommend. If anybody is a little bit apprehensive or scared of starting putting themselves out there, do that video journey. And if you've already started that video journey and you've stopped or you dropped off, just pick back up where you left off. No one's watching, no one's judging. We're all here to support each other. Okay, has anyone got any questions? I think we're at the top of the half of the hour, so we're about to wrap. Nothing's coming. So, oh, okay. We've got one question. I'm going to bring you in to the spotlight. Hello. What's your name, Circle of Life Events?
Hi, my name's Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
Then my business is called Circle of Life Events. First of all, Sara, I just really want to commend you. I very much relate to being ill and having to run a
Oh,
business. I have allowed my illness to be used as a lens into certain situations. And that's what I speak about. I often introduce myself as the lady nobody wants to talk to, but everybody needs to talk to.
that's fantastic.
I am, amongst other things, a death educator. All of
Death.
my work is around grief, death, and dying. And it's a topic people
Oh
don't
my gosh.
know. Yeah.
So I'm gonna a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
My one of my relatives is a campaign for Obama and for his Labour Party.
Okay.
And he's you should connect with him. He's talking about writing a book about death, about how to handle death and everything that goes with it. And I said it's so needed.
I'm in the middle of actually writing a children's book.
Oh,
Um,
fabulous.
yeah, I'm shortly to complete it, and I've decided to do the animation myself, the illustration myself as well. So it'll be available to parents, teachers, caregivers, grandparents, so they can feel comfortable about talking around the area of grief, death, and dying.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because we are the only country, well, one of the only countries where you can't talk about it. If you go to somewhere like I spent some time in Nepal, it's just part of the circle of life. You know, you'll be on the road next to somebody going to a cremation. It's
Yeah,
just part of living day to day. And no one wants to talk to me about anything like that. My
I
friend
am happy
my
to
best
talk to
friend
you.
passed last week. She was end of life, my chemo buddy. And I went to see her quite a lot in the hospice. And we just sat there talking about everything like you would just a normal mate, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she made this. She got this made for me, a gorilla,
Oh,
because I really love that gorillas. And she got that made for me while she was in the hospice, hardly being able to do anything with her husband. And we just carried on our friendship like normal until that moment when I
I'm
couldn't see her anymore.
I'm so sorry to hear of your recent loss and experience.
She was an inspiration though because of the way she handled the end. I know we've gone back to this subject matter again, but I think it's fantastic that you've come out and said that. I think everybody should talk to you. One
Thank
to
you.
many, one to millions.
One to millions. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing. And yeah, go introduce yourself in the Rebellious Business Network Facebook group as
I will
the lady
do.
that came out and spoke on the show, and let everybody connect with you.
Thank
Because
you.
that would be super, super awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. Sarah, I really want to be respectful of your time. I think you need to go and get some rest.
Yeah,
Go and
I
have a
definitely
chill
need to go and
out.
get. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us again on the show. I just absolutely love having you here. I love having you as part of this community, and I absolutely adore you. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
I'm so in awe of you, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you so much.
thank you to everyone.
Anybody wanting to know more about how to become high profile, wanting to dip their toes and getting in the press, if you're in RIA, you know where the training is. If you're not in RIA, you know where Sara is. We've dropped a link for you to go book a call with her. Just go book it, have a conversation. You never know what might happen next. Sara, thank you so much. Lots of love to you, sweetheart. Have an amazing rest of your day. And guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. And I will see you very soon. Lots of love. Bye.